everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be bringing you another video for the Irish Readathon. Today I'm going to be telling you about the Irish books that are on my general TBR but didn't quite make it onto my TBR for the Irish Readathon. Maybe I'll pick up a couple of these if I finish my main TBR, and I'll leave that video linked in the description if you want to check it out. But these are just some other books on my TBR that would have been suitable for the Irish Readathon. I'm gonna go through my shelves and pick out the books that are by Irish authors. I do have some more books on the other side of the room. I've got my non-fiction, my poetry, and my classics. But I don't think there are any books on there that are suitable. If you don't know what the Irish Readathon is, essentially it is just a month-long readathon that is focused on reading more Irish literature than you normally would. And if you want to participate, all you need to do is pick up one Irish book. So a book set in Ireland by an Irish author. Whatever way you really want to interpret it is suitable. But I'm just going to be picking books off my shelf that are by Irish writers. So the first book that I come across is Days Without End by Sebastian Barry. I've never read anything from this author before, but I have heard a lot of great things about this book. It is set in the 1850s and it is about two men in the US Army who fight in the Indian Wars and the Civil War. It won the Costa Book of the Year back in 2016, and that's about all I know about this book really, but it does get recommended to me a lot. The next one is Milkman by Anna Burns. This won the most recent Man Booker Prize, and I have heard such mixed thoughts on this one. This is a book that kind of seems like it is a dystopian novel, but it's actually about Northern Ireland. It is quite literary. I've heard a lot of people really struggle to get through it, that it's quite stream of consciousness with a lot of run-on sentences. None of the characters even have names. I am really intrigued to give this one a go and see if I manage to get through it. Up next, we have A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing by Emer McBride. I have read The Lesser Bohemians by Emer McBride, and I really enjoyed that book. I thought it was told in such a superb way. Did this win the Women's Prize when it was the Bailey's Prize? I know it was definitely shortlisted, and I do think that it may have won. So clearly Irish writers are doing pretty well on the prize front, but this is a story about a young woman and her relationship with her brother, who a lot of the focus when they were growing up was on him because he was very ill. This story really delves into the intimate thoughts of her as a narrator. That's what I really enjoyed about The Lesser Bohemians, was that it was such an intimate look into this young woman's life. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one and seeing how this one measures up. Another one here, we have The Little Red Chairs by Edna O'Brien. I've read two of her books before. I've read two of the books in the Country Girls trilogy, and I really enjoyed those, but this one sounds quite different to them. This is set in a small village on the west coast of Ireland, and it is about what happens when a faith healer comes to that community and everyone becomes quite entranced by him. But there is one woman in particular who is very strongly attracted and drawn to this man, and the blurb says that has unimaginable consequences. When I'm looking through all these books, I'm like, oh, I really want to read this now, and I wish I had the time to put them all on my Irish Readathon TBR. So on the second shelf, we've got two books here. We have The Forgotten Waltz by Anne Enright. I have read a couple of her other books. I've read The Green Road and The Gathering. The Gathering is probably one of my favourite books of all time, which is what she won the Man Booker Prize for in, I want to say 2007. I don't know too much about the actual plot of this book, but I know it really dramatizes everyday events. It has a lot to do with family and relationships and love. It's about the volatile connections between people, and I do really enjoy books that are more character studies than plot driven. I think sometimes there is this idea about Ireland that it's so idyllic and utopian, and I think Anne Enright does a fantastic job of showing that's not really always the case. She is an Irish writer that I recommend to so many people. I think she is incredible. Another book that I pulled off my shelf, which hasn't made it on to my Irish Readathon TBR this year, but it is a middle grade book, so I may be able to squeeze it in, is Bank by Emma Quigley. This was very kindly gifted to me by the publishers Little Island. This just sounds like it's such a fun book. It is about a kid who sets up a bank in his school. He loans money to his schoolmates and charges ridiculously high interest rates, and it's all about that little business scheme of his. I've heard this is really fast-paced and funny. If you are looking for a fantastic Irish publishers to check out, I would definitely recommend Little Island. On to the bottom shelf now. I have The Testament of Mary by Colm Tóibín. Have I read any Colm Tóibín before? I don't think I have. This one is so slim, so really, maybe I should add this onto my TBR. I don't want to add too many things onto my TBR because it will make me stressed, and then if I don't read them, I will feel like a failure. But this one is really small. This is basically a retelling of one part of the Bible. I think it retells the events after the death of Jesus from the perspective of Mary. It's definitely told from the perspective of Mary. I'm just not sure which bit of the Bible it looks at. But that just sounds so fascinating to me. That sounds like such an interesting retelling. I'm really intrigued by this book, and I haven't heard all that many people talk about it, so if you have read this one, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were. And I think this is the last one. This is The Trouble with Perfect by Helen and Duggan. This is the sequel to A Place Called Perfect, which I read last year and really enjoyed. I described that book as kind of like Alice in Wonderland meets a Tim Burton film meets a series of unfortunate events. It's hard to talk about what the sequel's going to be about without spoiling the first book. So the first book is about this young girl who moves to this new town called Perfect with her family. There is some sort of problem in this town with people's eyesight, and her father has been employed in order to make that right again. But there are so many strange and suspicious things happening in the town. This little girl, Violet, meets a mysterious young boy named Boy, and together they begin to unravel what's actually going on and solve the mysteries. It was just such a joy reading that book, and I'm sure this one is going to be the same. I think that's all of them. I think they are all the other Irish books on my TBR that weren't on my main The Irish Readathon TBR. I'll leave all of them linked down below in the description if you want to check any of them out, find out more. If you want to get your hands on a copy, there'll be links to the book depository. Let me know in the comments what you're reading, whether it's for the Irish Readathon or not. I'd be really interested to know. Anyways, that's all I'm going to talk about today, but I will speak to you in my next video.